Sometimes we forget why we're here. It's easy to fall off track. These help us remember that while we're here, it's easy to fall off track. These help us remember.
Growing up, I had a dream, something no one else could see. Tell me what it means when your faith is falling beneath your knees and you can't breathe. Everything you see reminds you of what you're not or something you won't be. You gotta take what you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in a business. Not because they wanna do it, just because they heard it pays. And who the fuck wants to be poor knowing that's how we've been raised? Society is getting heavy, I can feel the weight. The pressure of success is like 100 million pounds of shame. And that's the reason I'm staying up late, trying to find a way to escape the stereotypes. This day and age is making me feel like the only way I'll be happy is getting signed to a label and making money through rapping. I wanna share my emotion because this world is attacking the very principle of life that lets the people be happy. If you don't have a reason to breathe, why even live? These battle scars are impressions of everything that it is. That reached 100 million people, I tell them there's a reason that we're all created equal. Cause some decide to be great and some decide a sequel to an average person's life is simply what they want to be. So you make your decision, all I know is what I'm given. Won't define the life I lead or the way I dwell in existence. I've seen a greater image on the walls of where I'm living, and the words twisted and scripted remind me of something written. Faith is a gift that is given down to the people. If one believes it, one receives it. It's given if it is needed. Don't ever think you're trapped in a life that you never wanted. Your options are infinite, that's some mathematical logic. I'm not saying I'm a prophet, I'm speaking for what it's worth. These lyrics define my prayers and these battle scars on my church. Not saying I'm a prophet, I'm speaking for what it's worth. These lyrics define my prayers, these battle scars on my church. Don't look like the faded, don't look like the ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battle scars don't look like the faded, don't look like the ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These
Okay, for a second I thought my wrong screen was going to come up. Let me turn off my heater. Okay, this could potentially be a short show, or it could be a longer one. 1 second, I need to turn on though, where I can send a link. Okay, interview mode is on. All right, so I'm going to be doing something like this. I'm going to try to at least every weekend. It might not always be on abortion, but that seems to be the topic du jour. And I'm sorry, I'm a little filthy. I could tell I've got dirt on my face. I just came back from the Renaissance Fair. And along the bottom is the shameless plugs. Super chats are always welcome. Not really going to spend a lot of time on that, but what I'm going to spend is just setting up the concept of this. If you are somebody who's watching and you would like to have a short discussion with me in the change my mind style, shoot me an email, put in chat. You need to be on YouTube chat, or Twitch chat will work too. Put in chat that you shot me an email, and the email's pinkflameofliberty@gmail.com. I'll respond to the email with a link in which you go right on your browser and it puts you into the show. You do need to have a webcam, though you can turn it off and just be a black silhouette if you don't want to show your face and just use your voice. But the type of program this is it beams in with a webcam, but you could stick a piece of tape over it. You could turn it off, whatever you want to do. You don't have to show your face if you don't want to, though that makes for a better show. But here are the ground rules, and here's the question. And again, I'm going to keep this offer open for like 10 minutes. If I get no takers, that's fine. We'll do this again another week. But I've been posting quite a bit on abortion. I've gotten a lot of responses, but you want to know what? It's on Twitter. You can't have a discussion on Twitter. And I'm going to say a couple provocative things that might get people to respond. But you need to stick in chat that you sent me an email, because I am not like monitoring my email constantly. It's pinkflameofliberty@gmail.com. I think you and I probably agree, so there would be nothing for us to debate. Mr. Universe, I think I'm for designer babies too. That might be another show. But here's the topic for today. And I will give the reason why I wanted to talk about this. The topic for today, my position is that abortion is not always murder. We can take for sake of argument, as part of the discussion, that there is a life of the mother exception. If you don't want to take that exception, everyone else let me know if I froze. I may have froze on Facebook. I don't think I froze on YouTube, JJ. So you probably need to come to YouTube. You guys let me know if I froze. But, so the position is that abortion is not always murder. And I'm willing to grant you a exception for the life of the mother. But if you don't want to take that exception, that's fine too. I just know that most people hold to that, and I'm not trying to do a gotcha. I'm trying to have a genuine discussion. So fine, you can have an exception for the life of the mother. So the premise, my position, abortion with life of the mother exception is not always murder. Change my mind. We're not going to do this over Twitter. I post comments on Twitter and then I kind of abandon them, and I might like a few responses, but Twitter's not the place to have this discussion. Here I am. But here's the ground rules. And I'm going to do a few of these. Again, I'm going to try to do this each weekend, and I disagree with you, Tyler, and I'm not going to debate over text. You don't have to first define life. Defining life is absolutely not the issue. I could even add to the premise. Abortion with life of the mother exception is not always murder. Even granting that there's a fully rights-bearing human being from the moment of conception. I'll grant that. I'll grant that because I believe it. It's not about, that's why I've started this discussion. Because simply screaming murder and simply screaming you have to define when life begins, or you have to define life, is not the libertarian way to argue this. And I have to tell you, I'm tired of libertarians not discussing like libertarians. Okay, Michael Stengel has sent the email. So I'll go over the ground rules when we get him on. Let me, one second here, let me get the link for you and I'll respond to the email. One second here. Interview link. Come on, copy the link. Okay, link copied. Let me go to my email. All right. I'm sending Michael Stengel the link, and when he comes on, we'll discuss the ground rules. They are in the low bar, and we both have to agree with them. And these are going to be short, focused discussions. After Michael, if someone else would like to discuss, I'll discuss as long as if people would like to. I'm glad we got a first taker. You're brave. So I'm just waiting for him to get the link. Put in chat if for some reason you don't get it, or if you have problems. It's best if you wear a headset, but we'll work with quality problems. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Let me go back to my screen here and let's give Michael some time. But if someone else wants to line up for after Michael, go right ahead. And Tyler, you can make the assertions over chat. I'm not going to interact with them. If you want to come on the show, come on the show. Because I think the statement you just made right there is easily disprovable. So we're just giving Michael some time. And put in chat if you're having issues, Michael. Now, I am still going to be doing a monologue show at some point coming up in the future, but I have to map it out on all... Oh, okay, Tyler. Well, you could come on high and anxious. That doesn't bother me. And Michael, let me know if you're having issues. I'm going to turn interview off and on to make sure he can get on here. Okay, please post in chat there on YouTube chat, Michael, if you're having issues. But yeah, I did a show. Oh, I sent you the email. Hold on. Check again. Check. I'm looking right here. I don't want to disclose your email address by showing the screen, but it was sent 2 minutes ago. So maybe maybe the internet is slow today. If I put the link up in chat, trolls will just clog the lines, so I can't do that. So let me know if you got the email. I'm also going to see, I think we're Facebook friends. I'll try to send it to you over Messenger as well. We are Facebook friends, aren't we? Or are you not on Facebook? Well, let me know when you get the email, because it doesn't look like we're Facebook friends. Oh, here you go. Okay. Give me 1 sec. Here we go. And I will add you to the right. There you go. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Michael?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfect. I think I'm going to try to put on my headset so I can hear you better, because my computer speakers here are not great. Thank you for being brave. This is an experiment. They don't want to work. We'll deal with this. So let me go over what I had put down. It was in the low bars of ground rules. So we could add any conditions to this that you like, but the premise that I had put out there that I would be willing to defend is that abortion, with a life of the mother exception, if that's an exception you'd like to go with, is not always murder. The ground rules were where we both obviously consent to recording, and you could use this recording however you want, because you might get me, I might change my mind, you could broadcast it all over social media. You get to lead the discussion. You can set the framing, but I do get to respond fairly. We're both willing to change our minds and arguments. We're both willing to say, I don't know to something, and maybe talk at a later time. We will both be civil and not resort to sheerly emotional arguments. We'll listen to each other in turn and respond to points actually made, not points not made, with the goal being ultimately discussion, understanding, and persuasion against people who like each other, not the defeat of an enemy. So I think we could both agree to that pretty easily. So if you would like to start with your argument on why abortion, even with a life of the mother exception, is always murder, I would love to have my mind changed. Don't know if you heard me, Michael.
Actually, we may be more in line than... yeah, then we might be... I'm sorry, I got delayed 5 seconds.
Oh, that's because it really helps to have headphones on.
We may agree a bit. And I'd like to break the abortion to separate concepts. One being bodily autonomy of the mother, and another being the rights of a baby and the family, including the father. And another one being what is the relationship to the medical establishment. And finally, and this is where my parents come in, what is the government? And I was a delegate at RENA, and unlike most of the people around me, I voted not to delete or confine. I think that with regard to the government, they should stay out of a basically. And regards to the other parts, I find that that it's a complex situation, and there are conflicts that go back and forth, and the different rights that are involved.
Well, I think we probably end up agreeing, and you're breaking up really badly, and I don't know if it's my connection. So I think we actually agree on this one. So yeah, I'm probably going to let you go on this one because I think we agree more than we disagree. Plus, you're breaking up really badly. That might be my fault. Does someone else want to try so we can see if the connection is my fault? Because I don't want to put to waste people's time if the connection's not good right at this moment. So I'm gonna let you go, Michael, but I truly appreciate it, and I do think we do agree, and I didn't vote to delete the plank either. I think we do end up agreeing on this. But it's so awesome to see you. Thank you. Okay, does someone else, it's not my connection, Virgil Fenn says. Yeah, because I think I would be delaying too. Does anyone else want to come on? So Michael and I seem like we agreed. Neither of us voted to delete the plank. I do think it's a complex issue. And I don't think libertarians are served by arguing black and white on either side. We can talk about the role of the state. I haven't even gotten there. Right now, I'm just talking under libertarian theory. I'm not talking about personal morality. Under libertarian jurisprudence, abortion, even with a life of the mother exception, would not be murder. All right, Samuel, shoot me an email. And if your connection is bad too, then I know it's just me and I can't do this interview mode and I'll figure out what's wrong with my software. Shoot me an email at pinkflameofliberty@gmail.com and I will send you the connection link to get on. It's best if you wear headphones. You will get a delay if you don't have headphones on, most likely. So shoot me an email, let me know when it's sent, and I'll get you on. So it's pinkflameofliberty@gmail.com. I'm going to stick that in chat too. Here's Samuel's. I'm shooting him the link right now. Okay, I just sent that, so you should have it. And I'm going to also put my email address in chat here, pinkflameofliberty@gmail.com. So just come on when you get the link, Samuel. It's to eCam. And we will wait for Samuel. Now, Samuel had said he thinks we mostly agree, but he has an interesting take on why it would be considered murder. Interested in other opinions. This is something that I've changed my mind on a lot. So I have a proven track record of being able to change my mind on this. I have a proven track record of changing my mind on a lot of things. Funny enough, I get grief from people for being so willing to change my mind. And by the same people, I get the opposite argument that I'm inflexible and never change my mind. So it's funny. I guess it's annoying when I change my mind on things we agreed on. Okay, here's Samuel, and then won't on others. Okay, let's see. Okay, great. You got headphones on. Let's see if we can hear you. Let me stick you on here. And it says assign. Okay, let's see if we can hear you.
Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, no delay or static.
Perfect. Okay, so the way that I would approach it, I'm going to start off with a question, kind of analogy.
Sure.
Would you consider if someone breaks into your house and tries to kill you and rob you, if you kill them in self-defense, do you consider that murder?
No.
Okay. Do you consider it immoral?
No.
Okay. Now.
Well, let me qualify that.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, because I'm a little weird like that. I personally am a pacifist. So, but it's because I think as a Christian that God imposes different higher obligations on people that claim the name of Christ. So I personally would consider immoral, but I wouldn't consider it universally immoral. I would consider immoral only because I do feel a calling of God on my life to be a pacifist, but I wouldn't impose that on anyone else. So it's probably a better example to say if someone else killed somebody that broke into their house, I would not consider that immoral or should be illegal. So I just wanted to qualify that because I'm pretty well known for my pacifism.
Gotcha. So I would say, all right, putting yourself or putting someone else in that position, if they've killed that intruder who was trying to kill them, I think a lot of us would say that seems, morally okay. But if we change that person out with Superman, and then Superman ends up killing this person who could have fired bullets at them, at Superman would not die. And so he could easily disarm the person. He could put them in a jail cell. He could do so many things other than kill this intruder. So if Superman kills this person who broke into Superman's house, would that actually be immoral in that situation, you think?
Okay, now you probably will not like my answer.
Okay.
When it comes to like doing libertarian theory, I don't do things like if a Martian comes to Earth and says, if you rape this woman, I'm going to kill the whole planet, because Martians aren't coming to Earth and doing that, and Superman doesn't exist. So I think we can defeat or find holes in any theory if we postulate the impossible.
Well, I'll be clear about the point that I'm trying to get at. It's that, for me, I believe that there is kind of an objective and subjective component to morality. In my position, if you kill anybody, then in a way you are murdering them, and it is an immoral thing because that person doesn't want to be killed. For me, the kind of criteria for morality is consent, and most people would not consent to be killed. So, except for certain circumstances, like someone who wants to be euthanized, then they are consenting to their own death at that point. And so if you kill them, that's not murder. But for any person, including a serial killer, including someone bad, if you kill them against their will, then that is murder. The catch is that they're also trying to murder you. And so then that brings it into kind of a subjective area of subjective morality, where for you, it's, or a moral dilemma, I should say. For you, which one's worse, me being murdered or them being murdered? And then for them, it's kind of the same thing. And so you're both making kind of a subjective moral decision on a moral dilemma. But the fact remains that someone is killing someone against their will. They don't want to die. And so from an objective standpoint, both options are immoral in my eyes. And so in that way, that's how I would kind of describe abortion, even with the exception that you had made. In a way, it is kind of murder. And that one gets a little bit tricky because it's like, well, does the baby actually consent to it, or the fetus? Because does a clump of cells have the ability to actually consent to anything? And then that kind of gets into another realm of like people who go into a coma, whether they can consent to things. And we kind of have to judge it based off of, well, what would they have wanted? And whether because they've already been to a point where they can consent to things, and we think they'll be back at that point. And the same thing with the fetus. It's like, well, they never achieved it, but we know if they are allowed to, they will reach a point where they'd be able to consent. And then in the past, I think almost any one of us alive would say, yeah, I'd rather be born so I get to live.
Yeah, but I think and you might not agree with this particular libertarian theory, but it's one that I had hold is, you know, we all start off with the fundamental negative rights, but you can forfeit your rights through your aggression. So while you do, just all things being equal, your consent is required for everything. If you aggress from somebody, you've basically, it's estoppel in the legal theory. You have estopped your right to be able to say, I don't consent, because you violated consent to begin with. So while it's definitely killing, even in the Bible, you know, people like to say, thou shalt not kill, when the original Hebrew is thou shalt not murder. That even the Bible recognizes there's a difference between killing and murder. And I think all abortion is definitely killing. But whether or not it's murder or not, I think depends on a lot of other factors. It can, it might not be. But I don't think you're murdering somebody who was the initiator of aggression. You're just responding to the aggression.
So the way that I would kind of make that nuance is that you see this a lot in war. You've got soldiers on both sides, and I would argue that there are definitely situations where both soldiers feel like they're the ones being aggressed upon, and that they're fighting for the lives of themselves and their family and their country. And so in that situation, you know, where both of them feel like the other one's the aggressor, they're like, I don't want them murdering me, so I'm going to kill them. And then they're in a situation where they're trying to kill each other. And so that's why, for me, my moral framework that's kind of just based on consent, it's, yeah, in a technical sense, it's murder. Now, we can all, like, from a third-party standpoint, be like, well, the person who broke into the house, you know, kind of started it. And so from our perspective, we would probably say subjectively the moral dilemma worked out if the homeowner was the one that killed the other person. We'd be like, no, it was morally justified. And so this idea of moral justification doesn't mean that it becomes moral in a positive sense. I almost liken it to math and numbers, where like the sign of a number being positive or negative is the objective morality. And so anytime you kill someone or someone's trying to kill you, it's a negative number. But then the subjective is like the magnitude. And so in your eyes, you know, someone breaking into your house trying to kill you is a -10, but you killing them out of self-defense because they broke into your house is like a -8. And so in both cases, it's murder, but you're choosing the lesser of two evils, if you will, in the moral dilemma.
Well, and when I'm saying under like libertarian jurisprudence, and what I mean by that is what can be punished. So our personal morality can be much stricter than what we would think. For instance, my pacifism, I don't think I could be prosecuted or should be if I killed somebody that was breaking into my house and putting me in danger. But I obviously would think it was personally immoral for me. So our personal morality can be much greater. But when we're dealing with policy, I'm just trying to keep it on like jurisprudence.
And let me speak to that for a moment, if you will. So for me, I'm very much, I love Bastiat's the law, and this idea that the law, the jurisprudence should pretty much match almost in a way morality, because once it starts deviating from it, it becomes perverse, and it starts, you know, like legal plunder, the oxymoron, right? And so for, you know, why is plunder wrong, why is theft wrong? It's because you're taking property from someone else against their consent. You know, if they said, yeah, you can have it, that's either a gift,
I
charity,
think there's
or
a qualification there. You're taking something away from peaceful, non-aggressive people without their consent. I don't think it's all about consent. It's also about the position of the actor, that they have to not have stopped their rights to consent. So even like in general libertarian theory, it says that you can't use aggression against peaceful people. So you have to have not been an aggressor in order to claim all of those rights, because you stop the free exercise of some of your rights by your own actions. Just like you can enter into a contract and waive some of your rights, your actions, your aggressions can cause some of your rights to be forfeit.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, I think we pretty much agree on the kind of the outcome. And for what I was arguing, it was more almost of a semantic difference, if anything. And to be honest, I watched some of your earlier videos about Roe v. Wade and abortion, and it actually had already changed my mind a bit because, for instance, I'm vegan, and Hugh, a vegan has to tell you that they're vegan, kind of joke.
I know, it's funny. I get it.
Yeah.
Well, it's like an anarchist, too. Vegans and anarchists kind of are the same. I mean, when it comes to, like, the fervency.
Oh, yeah. And so, in my moral estimation, like, what's happening to animals is the kind of the equivalent of an animal holocaust, and it's awful. But all my friends and family aren't. And so, you have it kind of brought things to a point. It's like, well, do I just view everyone in my life as kind of like complicit in murder and heinous awfulness? And I had to kind of pull back and take more of a utilitarian view of it all. And more recently, I had been a little bit stronger on abortion, but after watching some of your videos, I was like, you know what? I already have that kind of more utilitarian view when it comes to the whole vegan argument. And like, why am I not applying it as equally to the abortion one as well? Because I think it's one of those situations of anytime the government gets involved, it always makes it worse. And so it's not that it shouldn't end. I think on both of those issues, it's more of a matter of time. I think if we go 100 years in the future, we get better contraception type technology, where pretty much the only pregnancies are the ones that are planned and consented to, and that's all. I think we might end up in a world where almost everyone views an act of abortion as something immoral and maybe even illegal on some level. But because we're not near that level yet, we're like, oh, it's okay.
And one reason why I feel so compelled to talk about the issue is because I personally am a pro-life person. Of course, with today's definitions, most people would not consider me one because I don't want the state involved. And it seems like in common discussion, you're pro-choice if you don't want the state involved. And I think that's a real shallow definition. I think it comes down to how we actually view the act, and the idea of the state's a separate issue. And it's often, I think sometimes the people who are on the same side as some of the people they're disagreeing with tactic-wise have to be the ones to speak out. Because if I were like just completely like in favor of abortion, didn't think there was anything wrong with it, I don't think pro-lifers would listen to me. But I think people are listening to me a little bit because they know I'm sympathetic to their point of view. And I don't think we're serving each other the way we're just screaming murderer. And it's with the deletion of the plank, it's gotten a lot worse. And I think it's starting to prove true the maxim that the formerly oppressed become the worst oppressors. So for a while we had arguably a pro-choice plank. I don't think it was, because again, I think the government's a separate issue, but a lot of people thought it was. And now that it's gone, it's like the people who felt like they were slighted by that plank are now coming out and being some of the worst people to other people over it.
Yeah, I've kind of seen that as well. And yeah, like I said, I'm with you in the sense of my pro-life view at this point could best be described as like, the personal choices that I make. I'm not going to engage in activity that would lead to the thing that I'm against. Yeah. And so only being, and put it that simple, and wish that it wouldn't happen, and try to make a social change with people, making them realize like it's important to make better choices so you don't end up in that type of situation. And being supportive of things that avoid it, like, being supportive of contraception, not in the sense of the government needs to be providing it or anything of that sort, but it doesn't need to subsidize it, but it shouldn't also be blocking it either.
And there's and I don't know if this is true. I always say right off, but it wouldn't surprise me it was true. Somebody had told me that there's actually like, it's some kind, the way it was described to me, it was almost like a, you know, those gelatin pills that you can get, like a liquid gel from Advil, that, not to get, you could start crossing your legs now, that they kind of put in the sperm tube, you know, that blocks it, and and it can come out easily, like not on its own, but it's not like a vasectomy that is iffy whether it can be reversed. So it's a form of male contraceptive, but there's no money in it because it's a one and done thing, and it's not being allowed to be produced. Now, I don't know if that's true, but it wouldn't surprise me.
It is. It's called Vasogel, and so it's a polymer that's injected into the vas deferens, and then the idea would be that they can come back with a different thing that would dissolve the polymer that blocks.
So I guess vas deferens is better than saying sperm tube.
But yeah, and it's been, I've been following it because to me, I was like, man, if there was anything I could support, that would be it, because I think that would do so much for people all over the world in the sense of like just stopping unplanned pregnancies. It basically eliminates the abortion issue. It eliminates a lot of other issues that kind of go along that kind of cascade from it. Unfortunately, like it's, I don't know exactly why it's taken so long, and I think there may be issues with the technology itself in the sense of it's not going to work the way that they hope it would. But I'm still, you know, I'm rooting for it or something like it to come about, because I think that's why I was saying earlier, I think it's going to be the technology. But, you know, short of that, in current day, I think I really thought through it. I was like, well, all right, if we look at alcohol prohibition, you know, even if you're anti-alcohol personally and you don't drink, let other people drink. But let's see what happened when we had prohibition. It's like the rise of the mobsters and everything that went along with it. And we know exactly what's been going on with the drug wars. And, you know, some people are like, well, you know, if we just have some laws against abortion, it's not going to be that bad. And it's like, you really don't think that if you consider it murder from a legal level at the very beginning, that it wouldn't be a very short time period before the government feels compelled to like investigate miscarriages to make sure, because that's the only thing that you can do to prove that it wasn't an abortion murder.
Or if it, you know, if it was a slightly suspicious miscarriage, you know, it some people, there's somebody in another comment that I thought really didn't take the objection to heart and was like, that's never going to happen. Okay, and right, it probably not every single miscarriage, but any that look a little fishy, maybe. Yeah. You know, like they're like, well, whenever there's somebody dies in their house, they aren't all murder investigations. If they're a little fishy, they are. I don't think you thought that one through. Whenever police get called because a dead body was found in the house, they do look around for signs that it might not have been a natural death. And if there's anything at all that looks a little out of place, yes, it is opened up as an investigation. And if you really are going to be consistent on this issue that an abortion is the same, exact same legally as murdering a 2-month-old baby, then you should be looking for those signs. And then do we start prohibiting mothers' behavior, like what they eat, what they can drink? Can they go skydiving? I mean, there are all kinds of other implications here. And I think even for minarchists who think that, you know, it is the role of the state to do X, we need to stop thinking that every single wrong is going to have a legal solution to it. Sometimes life just sucks. Sometimes not every wrong can be righted. And you don't get to put laws in place that will catch in its dragnet, not necessarily as punishment, but in rights restrictions, a bunch of people who did nothing wrong to catch the one person you might think would have. And I would think we'd understand that in our system. That's why you're innocent until proven guilty. A lot of people, guilty people, walk free because of that. But it's worth it. Because you don't go, well, sucks for those 10 innocent people. We got that one guilty one. No, our thinking is supposed to be the opposite. So yeah, are some abortions perhaps legally then murder and they're going to get away with it? Yeah. So that the 20 that weren't don't have to have their lives turned upside down. I mean, that should be our presumption.
Now, imagine a third-party candidate running for sheriff who they then dig into the past and find out had a miscarriage and be like, well, was it an abortion or not? And start trying to use investigations as a way of censoring or even taking out competition in elections. I mean, we've seen things like that for other areas happen before. And so, yeah, it just made me think that's not a path I really want us to go down. I think that's going to be worse for everybody, including, I think even the fetuses, aka babies, it would be worse for them as well. I mean, it makes it's just not a win scenario for anyone. That's the best I can say.
And the one thing I want to close with is this whole the thing with the 10-year-old girl. I don't know if you read the statement from the National Right to Life, which is a group that I used to support, and and I am going to mention, I'm not normally a person who goes, white guy, but it was a man saying this about a 10-year-old girl, that she should have just carried the baby to term. And I trust that, like most women, you're not talking about a woman, you're talking about a 10-year-old girl, she would realize it was a blessing in the end. I'm sorry, if your view leads you to say something like that, you need to be locked in a closet for a while. I mean, have you seen a 10-year-old lately? Yeah. I can never support something that says a 10-year-old girl that got raped should have to carry the baby to term. And I don't think the argument that I've seen in chat earlier today, how many 10-year-olds does that affect? I thought we were libertarians. If it affects one, it's an issue. I can guarantee you to that 10-year-old, that's the biggest issue. And to start saying statistically that's not many, I didn't think we were groupthink collectivists. If it happens to one person, we should be concerned. We're libertarians.
Oh, for sure. And yeah, I completely agree with you on that one. It's and that's where, for me, the subjective part of my morality framework comes in. It's even if you were to consider that murder on some level, you still also have to look at the rights of the other person and the immoral aspect of forcing someone to carry pregnancy to term. And then from a subjective standpoint, maybe you have to really evaluate, because I think it's one thing if it's a woman in her 30s who has a baby that's already pretty much full term, and the only difference is its location being inside the woman versus outside, but it's full viability and everything, and saying, yeah, you chop it to pieces, it's fine, just because it happens to have not passed through a vagina. It makes no sense. But on the flip side, if you say, yeah, no, the 10-year-old that should be forced to keep it, that sounds right, because otherwise it'd be murder. It's there's something wrong with the framework, the thinking in that situation.
No, there definitely is. And in most cases, I would say, when you're dealing with an actual woman, let's just say you're dealing with a 20-year-old, and she got raped, which is a terrible, unfortunate situation. My personal morality is it would be the right thing and noble thing for you to choose life. And I've known rape victims that have. But under libertarian jurisprudence, she didn't consent to that. And I don't see a libertarian argument for forcing a rape victim to carry a baby to term. Now, I as a person think you should. And I think you will, in retrospect, be more glad that you did. But I can't make that choice for you. And I don't think we can use the coercive power. And when I say of the state, I'm even saying, let's say we lived in Ancapistan, there still would be rights enforcement. So whether it's the state, whether it's a private agency, it doesn't really matter. I don't think you can force somebody who didn't consent to the act to carry that baby to term. And I will call it a baby the whole time. All a fetus is a baby at a different stage of development. All an adult is a baby at a different stage of development. And some of us aren't that developed, at least in the mind, but...
Oh, yeah, for sure. So I would say this kind of summary. Your previous videos had already changed my mind. I was already kind of on the border, but just really thinking through the way that we treat guns, the way that we treat alcohol, the way that we treat drugs, whenever we made them illegal, how it actually made everything about them, worse. It didn't make things better in the slightest. It just made more problems, and the problem still existed. And so trying to do any type of ban on abortion and considering it like murder, therefore it needs to be illegal, I think is really just going to be a situation where it makes it worse. It's not going to really make abortions go away. The demand's still going to be there, just like demand for drugs. It might decrease very slightly, but the amount of death and problems and horribleness that will result is going to dwarf the problem of abortion in and of itself. And so that you changed my mind. And like I said, all I was really coming on here was not really to even change your mind in the sense of like it should be okay to make the ban, but more of a, well, there's a different framework of morality you can consider it by, where it would be considered murder, but it's like, oh, moral dilemma, you're choosing the lesser of two evils.
Well, I really appreciate it, and I think these kinds of discussions are what we need to have rather than the yelling at each other. It's just gotten really, really bad. So I appreciate it. I'm gonna let you go, but I so appreciate you coming on.
Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, you have an awesome night. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, that was very reasonable. And again, if you feel strongly in another way and you want to come on, I'd be more than happy to talk with you. So I'm going to give it a few more minutes. And again, I'm purposely not really engaging with the comments in text, because if I wanted to do that, I wouldn't have the show where I'm asking people to come on. I think the Twitter little quips at each other and the quips that we can do on text, and we're on an unequal ground when all you can do is respond in text, and the amount of time it takes you to type 15 words or to get that. I have control of the mic here, and I can talk over your text. I want to have discussions on equal footing. So voice to voice. I would love it if anyone else wants to come on. I'm going to keep this open for about another 5 minutes, but I really enjoyed that discussion. I'm very pleased that some of the things I've said before have changed somebody's mind. When I'm listening to other people, I know it might not seem that way sometimes because I'm really fiery and I'm really passionate and I'm really opinionated sometimes, and I know y'all are laughing sometimes, but I change my mind. I've changed my mind on a lot of things, and I'm sure I'll change my mind on a lot of other things. I usually, I am letting you be, Tyler. I'm just saying why I'm not really interacting with some of the comments in chat, but I am cataloging them, because I am going to do another show that's a monologue type thing where I address a lot of things. So I am keeping in my mind all the comments I see, all the Twitter comments I've seen. But I do think the way to improve the discourse in this party is to have actual discourse, not be, what's that, like that meme of the frantic cat on the keyboard. Someone is wrong on the internet. I'm gonna get them. You and your little dog too, my pretties. And I've settled down a bit in my libertarianism. You know, I'm not quite so fire-breathing as before, unless you're a corrupt LNC, in which case I will light your ass on fire. That's not going to happen this term, but it certainly happened last term. Oh, thank you so much for the super chat, Samuel. I truly, truly appreciate it. And I did appreciate you having you coming on, definitely. And I'm going to do more like this, even with some other issues, I think. But I'm, again, giving it a couple more minutes to see if anyone else would like to come on. Otherwise, I do have to get back to some LNC work. I am... And you want to know what? I'm going to since while I'm just giving a few more minutes to see if someone else would like to come on, there is something else I want to address that I'll probably be addressing in a separate video. I know most of you listening are familiar with the Libertarian Party stuff. There was a comment earlier today I had to delete. It is my channel, and I do sometimes delete comments. And let me tell you what will cause a comment to be deleted. When it's just slanderous. I've had opponents on my show. I've had opponents in chat. I've had some, at least one member of the former LNC in chat, and I interacted with her. I do not silence opposition, but if it's just a rant that's full of slander, no, I'm not having that. My time is too valuable. I'm getting older. The days seem to be growing shorter as you get older. Like, the days seem to go by faster because they're a smaller percentage of your life. You know how when you're a kid, a week seems like forever? And then, you know, when you're 40, a week goes by like that. But as I'm getting older, I value my time more, and I do curate my life more. And certain types of trollish people that don't even try to interact with my point, even if they disagree with it, I have no time for. So, I don't do it. And to be honest with you, I don't give a shit what you think about that. So, no slander equals echo chamber. All right, it's my life. You can think that if you want, but I ain't having slander in my life, baby cakes. So, yeah, there was a comment I had to delete. But notice, Benjamin's disagreeing. But he actually engaged my point. So there was a comment I had to delete earlier today. If you all watched that video I did on New Mexico, where I stated my opinion that they just had an illegal convention, someone commented that I presented no objective facts for my opinion on that video. There is no way. Oh, sorry, Benjamin. I'm sorry. I misunderstood you. I was getting a bit defensive. That's my bad. That's my bad. Oh, that's my bad. I'm just used to people. You know, people ride my tail because I block people. And I'm used to people. And I'm, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. I misunderstood you. I'm so sorry. Oh, egg on my face. So the comment, if anyone watched that New Mexico video, there is no way anyone in good faith could say I presented no objective facts. I went through the bylaws. I read the bylaws. I looked at the actions of that board, said, does that comply with the bylaws? And I determined they did it. Now, you could say, no, you missed a fact. No, you misunderstood the bylaws. But to say I presented no objective facts as if I just sat here and just rattled off with no evidence is not honest. And I am not having thoroughly dishonest people in my comments. Deal with my issue. Deal with my argument. You don't have to agree with me. But I'm not allowing people to come and lie about me. Now, something else that was brought up in that comment where they're like, you're on the LNC and you're supposed to be unbiased. Where did you get that from? Show me where in the bylaws it says that. Show me where at all that is my duty. No, it's my duty to take a look at the evidence and come up with my opinion. No, there is no duty to go into a meeting as a tableau rasa, you know, blank slate, where you're just going to have no thoughts, no opinions, and formulate it on the spot. That's not how deliberative societies work. Did any of us go into convention having no opinion on anything? No. And I don't have a duty as an LNC member not to have a preformed opinion. My duty is to have my opinion based upon rational, bylaws compliant reasoning, and to be willing to be shown I'm wrong. I am willing to be shown I'm wrong. But I have zero obligation to be neutral. I'm not neutral. I can see facts and I come to my positions. It is batshit crazy to claim that there's a duty of LNC members to just be absolutely neutral or even unbiased. I have certain biases and I was elected with them, and I was elected because of them. I have a bias towards a certain kind of messaging. I have a bias towards you don't deny people due process. I have lots of biases that were on the table and I was elected with them. Like, those kinds of assertions are just not the way human beings work. So I wanted to address that. Thank you very much for the super chat, Larry. Now, I see some comments where I think somebody misunderstood me, and I am going to address that comment, but maybe not. With the way I misread Benjamin, I'm like scared now because I jumped his tail for no reason. Oh, I feel like such an idiot. I really got to make that up to you. I was kind of a jerk to you. I'm sorry. Yeah, I got to learn sometimes. That was a lesson for me, not to be so defensive. Okay, it says, when is termination of a life except in self-defense, not murder? I didn't say anything about self-defense or not self-defense. And if you want to come on and talk to me about it, I can explain. And nope, I do not support state execution. But if you want to explain how my position leads to that, come on and talk to me. Not doing this abortion thing over text anymore. Okay, I think JJ, I don't understand your comment. I operate on the premise if someone has to lie to support his decision, that his decision or opinion is worthless. I think I understand. Benjamin, if you'd like to tonight, let me know. Shoot me an email. Otherwise, I am going to, I'm going to be trying to do shows like this, I think every weekend. It might not always be on abortion, but it's going to be on abortion probably for a while. So, I don't think there's anyone else that wants to come on tonight, but I'll try to do this again next weekend. I had a lot of fun. I would like to see more people do things like this, so maybe some other libertarians will consider it. There was an interesting, now I don't mean to get everyone too excited, and I probably will regret saying this. There was an interesting discussion earlier today about the land value tax. It's a topic I haven't addressed in a while. I know I have some friends that are cool friends. We just disagree on this topic that I might end up doing a change my mind on that. But maybe not. But that's a subject I have talked about that I wanted to address, and it just keeps ending up being on the back burner. All right, tomorrow is HBO series number 2 of The Anarchists. I will be doing a review of that the way I did last time, and we'll see. We shall see. I have a feeling that the first episode is going to be the best one, but they might pleasantly surprise me. All right, everyone, thank you so much. Have an awesome night, and I've got to get to work on some things I have to get done this weekend. I enjoyed spending this time with you. You have an awesome night.
Given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in a business.